Thad, it's an honor for me to come to the floor of the Senate and talk for a minute about my friend Thad Cochran. And I know everybody's probably said everything that needs to be said, that just everybody hadn't said it yet. But kind of in the vein of what Senator Blunt said, everybody says the same thing about Thad Cochran. He's gracious, he's smart, he's genteel, he's effective, he's a great colleague. I want to tell you about Thad Cochran. When I came to the Senate 14 years ago, I did what I've served in every legislative body I could be elected to living where I live. I've been in the Georgia House, the Georgia Senate, the U.S. House, the U.S. Senate, all representative legislative bodies. And in each one of them, I got some advice my first year in the Georgia House 41 years ago that was real good advice. A good friend of mine said, Johnny, I tell you what you do. The first year you're down here, don't say a word. Just watch everybody talk, watch what everybody else does, look at the people you'd like to be like, and then for the remainder of your career, be like that person. Because in the end, this business is about relationships and effectiveness, not about bluster and bragging. And I did pick out a guy. His name was Carl Harrison. Carl's passed away now, but he became one of the best friends I ever had in life. And I watched him in the Georgia legislature, and I patterned my way after Carl Harrison. And the success I had was in large measure because I followed a great leader like Carl. When I got to the United States Senate, I knew I needed leadership. I needed to find a book or something to tell me how to be a good senator. But I remembered Carl, and I said, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to sit in this body. I've got 6 years in this term. Surely I can take a few months of the first year and kind of figure things out. And so I started watching, and you could see the characteristics and the quality of each individual in the Senate. And everybody offers unique gifts which they give to this body. But I kept watching Thad Cochran. He was respected, always had time for you, never let you know he'd been here a lot longer than you ever thought about being here, maybe longer than you've been born. Listened to you, and you asked him for a question, he gave you an answer. And so I called my wife and I said, sweetheart, when we come back to Washington next week, I want to take Thad Cochran to dinner because I've decided he's the guy I'd like to be most like. And I'm not making this up. This is exactly what happened. And so we went to Ocean Air, Thad. I don't know if you remember it that night. It was pretty crowded. It's pretty loud in Ocean Air. Thad's not a loud guy. But when Thad walks in a room, it gets a little bit quiet because everybody knows wisdom has arrived. My wife and I enjoyed that dinner tonight. We became great friends with Thad. We had a number of issues where we engaged each other over the course of the years, and on all of them, I think we're on the same side except catfish. I think I got a line on catfish, and I apologize for that, Thad. I know Roger's in here somewhere, and is that right, Roger? But I tried to redeem myself as best I could. But the highest compliment I can pay to anybody is I wanted to be just like Thad Cochran. And so in the 13 years since that dinner at Ocean Air, in everything I have done and tried to do in the Senate, I've tried to be like Thad Cochran. You know, Mark Twain once wrote, when confronted with a difficult decision, do what's right. You'll surprise a few, but you'll amaze the rest. Thad Cochran, when you have a tough decision to make, when somebody's got cut through the chase, point you in the right direction, you get the job done, it's Thad Cochran that you want in the foxhole. He is the perfect example to me of a noble life and a noble leader. I have a favorite poem that's in a book called Leaves of Gold in the Methodist Church. And I think that poem applies to Thad Cochran better than any words I could come up with today. The poem goes something like, it says, I'd rather see a good person than hear about one any day. I'd rather have a good person walk with me than merely show the way. For my eyes are better pupils and more willing than my ear, and fine counsel is confusing, but example is always clear. And the best of all the people are the ones that live their creeds, for to see the good in action is what everybody needs. Well, I'll be very glad to do it if you'll let me see it done, but I can watch your hands in action and your tongue fast may run. But the lectures you deliver may be very wise and very true, but I'd rather get my lecture by observing what you do. For I may misunderstand you and the high advice you give, but I'll never misunderstand the way you act and the way you live. Thad, you've blessed us all by the way you act, by the way you live, by the example that you've set. May God bless you and your family. We wish you the best, and will you always come back? Because if you ever need me, I'll be right here for you. You've always been there for me. God bless you, Thad, and I yield back.